Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. And before you settle in, I need you to brace yourself because what I'm about to say may hit harder than you expect. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like the world quietly stopped valuing you the moment you crossed a certain age? Like you woke up one day and suddenly women looked at you differently. Opportunities felt thinner and your presence didn't command the same respect it once did. If that feeling stung even a little, good. Hold on to it because it's the beginning of your awakening. And before we go deeper, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me because what I'm about to reveal is something most men never hear in their entire lifetime. Men over 50 and 60 carry a weight that younger generations cannot even imagine. Society tells you to slow down, settle, shrink, become less. But inside you still feel alive, masculine, capable, full of potential. And so you start wondering, should I get a girlfriend again? Should I try to rebuild intimacy? Should I return to the emotional complexities of dating? But here's the truth most won't dare say aloud. For many men in your age bracket, having a girlfriend doesn't enhance your life. It complicates it, drains it, even breaks it. Not because relationships are bad, but because the dynamics shift in ways younger men don't understand. And you need to know these dynamics before you allow anyone into the later chapters of your life. You see, a woman in your life at this stage doesn't interact with your youth, your energy, or your potential. She interacts with your history, your resources, your stability, your habits, your identity. The expectations placed on you are different. The risks are different. The emotional cost is different. And if you're not brutally aware of these shifts, you can lose years, yes, years, to someone who contributes nothing to your purpose, your peace, or your inner growth. This stage of life is sacred. You no longer have decades to waste. Every hour matters. Every choice matters. And the wrong partner can derail everything you've built. I'm not here to tell you to avoid women or shut your heart down. I'm here to protect your energy, your emotional safety, and your remaining years from being consumed by the wrong kind of relationship, one that drains you instead of elevating you. And the first reason you should never have a girlfriend after 50 or 60 is rooted in a psychological truth that most men never see coming. The first reason you should never have a girlfriend after 50 or 60 is simple, uncomfortable, and universally true. Your peace becomes more valuable than companionship. At this stage of your life, peace isn't a luxury, it's survival. And yet, most relationships formed later in life subtly chip away at it. Not with chaos, not with drama, but with constant emotional demands that slowly drain the strength you've spent decades building. You've lived long enough to understand that emotional noise is more dangerous than physical exhaustion. A younger man can tolerate arguments, misunderstandings, insecurity, and emotional turbulence because he still has the energy to recover from it. But you've earned your calm. You've earned your silence. You've earned mornings where you wake up without tension, and nights where you sleep without someone questioning your every move. A girlfriend at this stage often comes with unspoken expectations, access to your time, your lifestyle, your attention, and yes, even your emotional labor. She may not mean harm, but the reality is that many women seek emotional anchoring from mature men because they sense your stability. They gravitate toward the peace you built, but in doing so, they can accidentally disrupt it. And this is the tragedy. A man over 50 doesn't lose peace quickly. He loses it slowly, quietly over months and years, until one day he realizes he's living inside someone else's emotional world instead of his own. When you're young, you tolerate that. When you're older, it eats you alive. You've reached a point where your mental clarity is sacred. Your routines matter. Your space matters. Your independence matters. A girlfriend, even a well-intentioned one, introduces emotional fluctuations that you simply don't need anymore. Because at this age, calm is not boring. Calm is healing. Calm is freedom. Calm is health. Calm is longevity. Men over 50 who lose their peace begin aging faster mentally and physically. Stress impacts your body more severely. Emotional friction affects your sleep, your focus, your mood, your sense of purpose. Relationships require constant communication, compromise, and emotional management. Those things aren't bad, but they weigh heavier when you're older, much heavier than anyone wants to admit. A girlfriend can be companionship, yes, but she can also become the biggest threat to the emotional sanctuary you've spent decades constructing. And once that peace is gone, you can't rebuild it easily. But peace isn't the only reason. There's another psychological truth you must face, one that affects your finances, your stability, and your future more than most men realize. The next reason you should never have a girlfriend after 50 or 60 is this. Your financial stability becomes a target, even unintentionally, and I need you to hear this without defensiveness, without pride, and without guilt. This is not about women being bad. This is about human psychology, aging, and survival instincts that most men overlook until it's too late. When a man reaches his 50s or 60s, something profound happens. His value stops coming from his physical presence and starts coming from his resources, his stability, his assets, his discipline, his life's work, and, whether a woman realizes it consciously or not, she sees that. She feels that. She responds to that. You've spent decades building a foundation financially, emotionally, mentally. You paid the price in long nights, early mornings, sacrifices, and responsibilities. But the moment you enter a relationship at this age, that foundation becomes part of the dynamic. A girlfriend may not say she expects help, support, or shared resources. But over time, the expectation quietly grows. It starts subtly. A suggestion, a need, a problem she hopes you can solve, a comfort she hopes you can provide. And because you're a provider by nature, you step in. Not because you're being used, but because that's what a good man does. But here's the truth. Most men don't recognize until it's too late. Once you begin providing, even in small ways, the dynamic shifts permanently. You can't undo it. You can't reset it. The relationship will always lean on your stability emotionally, financially, structurally. And this is where mature men lose the most. Not through manipulation, not through malice. Through slow, subtle dependence they never intended to create. At this age, financial strain hits harder. Recovering from it takes longer, sometimes years, sometimes never. A breakup at 25 might cost you a few months of savings. A breakup at 60 might cost you your retirement. And even if she never asks for a single dollar, the emotional expectation alone can pull you away from your financial goals. The time you spend, the energy you invest, the lifestyle adjustments you make, all of it carries a cost. A relationship late in life is rarely free. Not financially, not emotionally, not mentally. And the most dangerous part, most men don't realize how much they've given until they're looking at an empty space where their security used to be. But financial vulnerability isn't the only risk. There's a deeper, more silent threat that men over 50 face when entering relationships, one that strikes at identity, purpose, and personal freedom. The next reason you should never have a girlfriend after 50 or 60 is this. She can unknowingly steal your identity. And I want you to really feel this, because it's subtle, insidious, and almost impossible to notice, until it's too late. By the time you realize it, months or even years of your life have been quietly reshaped around someone else's world. Think about it. At this stage, you've spent decades cultivating who you are. Every habit, every routine, every interest, Every boundary has been tested by life and refined. You know what you like. You know how you function best. You know what feeds your mind, your spirit, your energy. That's your identity. That's the man you fought to become. Now, enter a relationship. She isn't trying to erase you. She isn't consciously stealing. But humans are wired to influence each other. And relationships at this age are rarely about discovery. They're about integration. Slowly you start bending, adjusting, giving up little things that used to matter to you. Your mornings, your hobbies, your social life, your travel plans. Suddenly they all revolve around her. At first it feels natural. It feels like compromise. It feels like care. But the truth, this is a silent erosion. Before long, the man who once knew himself, who had clarity about his desires and purpose, wakes up realizing he's living in a borrowed life. Decisions that once belonged to him are now influenced by her moods, expectations, and subtle preferences. Your independence, the one thing that makes late life so powerful, is quietly slipping away. And here's the cruel part. You may not even notice it. Your heart will feel full. Your companionship will feel comforting, but your essence, the part of you that gives life meaning, is shrinking. Every conversation, every adjustment, every emotional compromise chips away at the self you built decades to perfect. Men over 50 and 60 who surrender to this unknowingly often look back with regret. They realize they were no longer living for themselves. They were living to maintain someone else's happiness. And that regret, it's heavier, more bitter, and more permanent than the heartbreak of youth. Your identity is your power. It's your legacy. It's the armor that protects your mind, your decisions, and your happiness. Letting it be diluted at this age can feel almost fatal because you don't have decades to rebuild it. You have years, sometimes very few, to live intentionally, fully, and on your own terms. And that's why protecting your identity is non-negotiable. Because losing it in a relationship after 50 doesn't just cost you. It costs the life you were meant to enjoy uninterrupted. But identity erosion isn't the only hidden danger. There's another factor, one that men rarely anticipate, but will change everything if ignored. Another critical reason you should never have a girlfriend after 50 or 60 is this. Emotional volatility becomes exponentially more dangerous. And I don't mean women are hormonal or irrational. I mean that at this age, emotional stress has consequences you can no longer shrug off. Your body, your mind, your energy. They react differently than they did in your 20s or 30s. Every argument, disappointment, or emotional demand leaves a mark that lingers longer, hits deeper, and takes far more effort to recover from. You've earned a life rhythm, a balance between responsibility, relaxation, and purpose. A relationship late in life doesn't just add companionship, it introduces unpredictability. Even the smallest disagreements now can spiral into days of tension, sleepless nights, and mental fatigue. Unlike younger men, your resilience is no longer infinite. Emotional turbulence no longer bounces off you. It accumulates, compounds, and slowly chips away at your health and clarity. Consider this. When you're younger, heartbreak hurts. But your energy, your metabolism, your optimism, and your friends help you recover. After 50, recovery is slower. Your patience has limits. Your nervous system reacts more intensely. Your health is vulnerable to prolonged stress. A partner who unknowingly triggers repeated emotional friction can accelerate anxiety, lower immunity, and even impact cardiovascular health. And it's not just the physical toll. The psychological cost is profound. Constantly adapting to someone else's moods, expectations, and insecurities drains the mental space you've cultivated for self-reflection, growth, and mastery. Your dreams, your hobbies, your passions. They all quietly retreat to accommodate the emotional climate of the relationship. Before long, the man who once had clarity, focus, and purpose finds himself entangled in cycles that don't belong to him. Late-life relationships demand more than you may realize. They ask you to compromise your hard-earned routines, your mental stability, your sense of freedom. And even if the relationship feels good most of the time, the hidden toll of emotional labor is heavy. It's invisible, slow, and often rationalized until you wake up feeling drained, frustrated, and confused about where your energy went. For men over 50 and 60, emotional volatility isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. It can subtly age you, stress you, and rob you of the very years you've worked to enjoy. Protecting your emotional sanctuary is non-negotiable. Guard your time, guard your calm, guard your energy. Once it's gone, there's no reset button. And finally, there's one more reason. A truth so overlooked, so rarely spoken that most men only realize it when it's too late. The final reason you should never have a girlfriend after 50 or 60 is this: freedom, the true currency of your later life, is far more valuable than companionship. At this stage, freedom isn't just about travel or hobbies. It's about the ability to live according to your terms, without negotiation, without compromise, without having to filter your life through someone else's expectations. Freedom is your time, your choices, your routines, your space, your energy. And once you enter a relationship, no matter how loving, that freedom is subtly, almost imperceptibly reduced. You've spent decades fighting for autonomy. You've learned how to make decisions without apology, how to structure your day to maximize clarity and productivity, how to guard your peace. A girlfriend introduces variables you cannot control. Even well-intentioned requests, desires, or habits can demand shifts in your schedule, priorities, and mindset. And over time, these small adjustments add up, quietly reshaping your life around someone else. Imagine waking up on a Saturday morning with no obligations and the ability to do exactly what you want. Go to the gym, take a long drive, read, reflect. Now imagine that same morning gradually filling up with decisions you didn't choose: where to go, what to eat, who to see, which mood to accommodate. At first it feels minor, but the cumulative effect, it's profound. The autonomy you once took for granted becomes a shadow of itself. Freedom after 50 and 60 is rare, and it's fragile. Relationships, even loving ones, are a trade-off. You gain intimacy, but you lose spontaneity. You gain companionship, but you lose complete control over your emotional and physical space. And at this stage, that loss is more significant than it ever was before. Men in their 50s and 60s who cling to freedom understand that it is priceless. It allows you to pursue your passions, maintain health, manage your finances, and protect your peace. It allows you to live on your own terms and to enter any relationship only if it genuinely complements your life instead of reshaping it. This is not about fear, resentment, or closing off your heart. It's about clarity, wisdom, and self-preservation. The right partner can enhance your life, yes, but the wrong one will slowly, silently, and irreversibly erode it. And at this stage, the cost is not just heartbreak. It's lost years, lost energy, lost identity, and lost freedom. So before you consider a girlfriend after 50 or 60, remember this: peace, identity, financial stability, emotional health, and freedom are not negotiable. Protect them fiercely because these are the treasures that allow your later life to be truly extraordinary. Your life is too precious to hand over without fully understanding the consequences. Choose wisely and live intentionally.